Imagine yourself lying awake in the quiet of the night. The room is still, yet your mind refuses to rest. Thoughts begin to creep in. What if tomorrow goes wrong? What if you fail, lose, or fall short? That knot in your chest tightens your breathing, quickens, and your imagination plays out disasters that haven't even happened yet. You feel the weight of tomorrow crushing today. But here in the stillness, you're not experiencing reality. You're suffering twice, once in the imagination and once again when life unfolds. The Stoics knew this pattern well, and they offered a practice to break it: premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. At first glance, the practice sounds grim. Why would you think of pain, loss, or insult before it even arrives? But pause and see what the Stoics saw. By calmly rehearsing what could go wrong, you strip those imagined evils of their hidden power. You do not call misfortune into existence. You prepare your soul to meet it with dignity. Seneca said it plainly. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. So each morning, before stepping into the stream of the day, you take a moment, 2 minutes at most. Close your eyes. Picture the insults that may be hurled, the delays that may frustrate you, the losses that may sting. Say to yourself, if these things come, I am ready. If fate demands, I accept it. This is not pessimism. It is the highest form of readiness. Consider a soldier preparing for battle. Would he enter the field imagining only victory, or would he steel himself for wounds, for betrayal, for the possibility of retreat? The warrior who has already walked through loss in his mind cannot be broken by loss in the field. You are that warrior. Life will hurl its arrows, but none will pierce deeper than you allow. Think of Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, ruling while plague ravaged the empire, while betrayal brewed in his own household, while armies tested his borders. In the evenings, he would write to himself, not about how to avoid pain, but how to meet it. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When he rehearsed disaster, he wasn't surrendering to fear. He was reminding himself that even if the worst came, he still commanded his own mind. Now turn this to your life. You worry about the meeting tomorrow. What if you stumble? What if they disapprove? Imagine it now. They frown, they reject your ideas. You remain calm, you walk out with dignity. Your worth is not diminished. Or you worry about your finances, about losing what you've built. Imagine it now. The bank balance shrinks, the possessions leave your hands. But you remain, you still breathe, you still choose, you still hold the one thing: no one can seize your character. This practice is freedom. For worry feeds on uncertainty. But once you've rehearsed the worst, it loses its fangs. You already know the ground beneath you, and you will not be shaken when it quakes. Seneca himself would walk through the streets of Rome in rough clothing, eating coarse bread, asking himself, is this the condition I feared? Each time he discovered he could endure, the grip of fear loosened further. Think also of the modern world, the student awaiting exam results, the entrepreneur launching a fragile business, the parent anxious about their child's future. Each can apply premeditatio malorum. By asking, what is the worst I can face, and how will I meet it with steadiness, they are not courting disaster, but fortifying their peace. The student imagines failure, but sees they can try again. The entrepreneur imagines collapse, but knows resilience will build anew. The parent imagines hardship, but remembers love and presence remain even if security wavers. You have spent too long trying to silence worry by pretending nothing bad will ever come. But reality is harsher than fantasy. Storms will arrive. Hearts will break. Fortunes will fade. Yet here is the Stoic gift: by expecting storms, you teach yourself to sail through them. Worry loses its grip not because the sea is calm, but because you are no longer afraid of waves. Tonight, as you prepare for tomorrow, do not chase endless reassurances. Instead, whisper to yourself, "Whatever comes, I am ready." The future may bring insult, failure, or loss. But you prepared, remain unbroken. You do not seek misfortune, but you accept its possibility. You do not cling to comfort, but you cultivate resilience. You do not deny fear, but you master it. And as you master it, you reclaim your nights, your days, your peace. For once you've seen the worst in your mind, you are free to walk through life unafraid. This is the first step on the Stoic path, away from worry, not to hope for a painless life, but to build the strength that no pain can own you. You've rehearsed the storms, and now you are steadier. Yet even with preparation, a deeper trap still lingers. Your mind wastes its fire on battles that were never yours to fight. This is the second great Stoic habit, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, once a slave who rose to become one of philosophy's most enduring voices, taught it in the simplest words. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. The beauty of this teaching lies in its clarity. Picture two baskets set before you. In the first, your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your integrity. In the second, the opinions of others, the weather, the passage of time, the outcome of efforts. The Stoic directs his entire will into the first basket and lays down the second with acceptance. Yet most people do the opposite. They clutch desperately at the basket that can never be carried, straining to control other people's choices, begging reality to match their desires, replaying events that cannot be undone. And so they exhaust themselves in battles unwinnable, and their minds unravel. Think of the last time you worried over someone's opinion of you. Did your anxious rehearsals bend their judgment? Did your restless nights rewrite the past conversation? The only power you had and still have is to respond with dignity, to refine your own conduct, to embody your values, regardless of applause or scorn. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Let's place this teaching into flesh and blood examples. Imagine a modern worker passed over for promotion. Their instinct is to burn in resentment, to gnaw on every imagined slight from their manager, to curse the decision as unfair. But the hiring choice belongs in the second basket outside their control. What remains in the first basket is their response. Do they choose bitterness or resilience? Do they sharpen their skills, expand their knowledge, and walk taller into the next opportunity that is theirs to command? Or picture a Roman soldier standing in the mud of Germania, his comrades trembling as whispers of an ambush spread. He cannot control the weather, the enemy's cunning, or even the battle's outcome. But he can control his courage. He can choose to stand firm, shield, raised heart, steady. And in that choice lies his freedom, even as fate plays its hand. The test then is simple. With every anxious thought, pause and ask, is this within my control? If yes, act with full force. If no, release it. It sounds easy, but this is where most stumble. Our pride resists letting go. We convince ourselves that if we worry hard enough, we can bend the uncontrollable. But worry is not action, it is wasted energy. Think of how much of modern life fuels this mistake. Social media drags your mind into storms that are not yours. Strangers' arguments, endless news cycles, distant events. You scroll, you rage, you sink into despair over matters you can never touch. Epictetus would look at you and ask, why hand over your peace to things outside your command? The wise do not scatter their attention across the entire world. They conserve it for the patch of ground they truly govern their own soul. Now let's deepen the reflection. Imagine a man betrayed by a friend. He aches to rewrite the betrayal to force the friend's loyalty back into existence. But he cannot. That loyalty was never his possession. What he does command is his own integrity, to remain honest, to guard against becoming bitter, to choose whether he answers treachery with vengeance or with dignity. One basket he can never hold, the other he can fill with virtue. The Roman emperor, weighed by betrayals from senators and generals alike, understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote again and again, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." He could not control the plots against him, but he could control his refusal to stoop to their corruption, and that choice became his immortality. Bring this to your own day. Someone insults you online. Can you control their cruelty? No. But can you control your reply, or better yet, your silence? Yes. You fail at a venture. Can you control the market? No, but can you rise again, wiser, stronger, more disciplined? Absolutely. Every time you choose to live in the first basket, your mind sharpens, your spirit steadies, and worry dissolves into clarity. Worry thrives when your energy is scattered across things you can never command. But when you gather that energy back into your own hands, you grow leaner, calmer, stronger. Like a river no longer spilling wildly into swamps, your focus cuts a channel deep and powerful. Write this on your heart: I control my actions, not the world. Whisper it in moments of stress, and the noise fades. For peace is not found in bending the world to your will, but in mastering the one thing always within your reach, yourself. And once you've drawn this line of control, you begin to see worry for what it truly is: the mind trying to hold what was never yours. Let go. Choose the smaller basket, and in choosing it, you inherit a strength greater than kingdoms. You've begun to shift your energy, pouring it only into what belongs to you. Yet notice this: even when you guard your focus, the world still tries to invade your mind. Every headline screams catastrophe. Every post invites comparison. Every conversation drags you into noise that isn't yours to carry. And slowly, without noticing, you surrender your peace to the chaos around you. This is where the Stoics urged a crucial practice: guard the gates of your mind. Seneca warned associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. He was not speaking only of friendships, but of everything you let inside: the words, the images, the moods that seep into your consciousness. Your mind is a garden, and what you allow in either nourishes or poisons it. Worry feeds on weeds. Peace requires cultivation. Think about your daily routine. You wake up and immediately scroll through the news: disasters, scandals, the endless churn of outrage. You switch to social media: someone flaunts success, another vents anger, a third spreads gossip. Already your heart is heavy. Not because your own life is in danger, but because you've imported anxieties from strangers. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And your reaction is shaped by what you allow inside in the first place. Imagine a Roman senator walking through the forum surrounded by gossip, schemes, and slander. If he absorbed every rumor, every insult, he would crumble beneath the weight. But the Stoic senator sets boundaries. He hears, but he does not ingest. He chooses whose counsel to heed, whose voices to dismiss. In this way, he preserves his clarity amidst the noise. Apply this to your own world. Unfollow the accounts that leave you restless, angry, or insecure. Limit your daily news intake to 10 minutes from sources you trust, instead of drowning in hours of speculation. Step back from people who drain your energy with constant complaint or fear-mongering. In their place, seek companions, both living and dead, who strengthen you. Read Marcus Aurelius in the morning instead of scrolling. Share silence with someone who uplifts you instead of gossip with someone who poisons you. Guard your inputs with the vigilance of a warrior protecting sacred ground. This isn't about burying your head in the sand. The Stoic was not uninformed. He was disciplined. He understood that an undisciplined mind is like an unguarded city any intruder can enter, rob, and corrupt it. To say no to harmful inputs is to say yes to your own strength. Consider a modern example. You're scrolling late at night, stumbling upon a post from a peer announcing a dazzling success, a promotion, a vacation, a perfect relationship. Suddenly your peace evaporates, not because your life has worsened, but because you allowed comparison to seep in. But if you had guarded your gate, choosing not to let envy-inducing content flood your mind, you would have kept your calm. The difference isn't the world, it's your filter. Or imagine Seneca himself, one of the wealthiest men of his time, sitting in his villa. He had wealth, yet he chose evenings of simplicity, conversations on virtue, and texts that sharpened the soul. He curated his environment as carefully as his words. And when storms shook Rome, his mind remained anchored because he had not filled it with distractions. Ask yourself, what are the weeds choking your garden today? Endless scrolling, toxic friendships, a diet of fear-filled headlines. Each is a seed of worry. Remove them, and the garden breathes again. Replace them with wisdom, with silence, with reflection, and clarity begins to grow. Worry needs fuel to survive. Every angry rant, every sensational headline, every toxic conversation feeds it. But when you starve it, when you control your inputs, it withers. You don't have to respond to every opinion. You don't have to carry pain that isn't yours. You don't have to plant weeds in your own soil. Build a simple habit: when new information appears, pause and ask, does this strengthen me or weaken me? If it strengthens you, let it in. If it weakens you, let it pass. You are not obliged to carry every burden the world offers. Picture yourself at day's end, sitting in calm silence. Instead of being filled with noise and agitation, your mind is clear. You chose what to let in. You fed your soul strength instead of chaos. In that quiet, worry has no roots to cling to. This is what it means to guard the gates of your mind. So remember, peace is not passive, it is defended. Build your mental walls, plant your inner garden, and let only what is worthy of you take root. Because when you control your inputs, you control your peace. And when you control your peace, the world can roar outside, but within you remain unshaken. You've begun to defend your mind like a fortress, choosing carefully what enters, what strengthens, and what weakens you. But the day is long, and when the night comes, the quiet can either heal you or haunt you. This is where the Stoics placed one of their most transformative practices, the evening reflection. Seneca described it with disarming honesty. When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said. Think of your own nights. How often do you rush from the chaos of the day straight into sleep, or worse, into hours of restless scrolling, drowning in other people's noise? And when you finally close your eyes, you're not at rest. You're reliving conversations, regrets, and mistakes, carrying them into tomorrow. The Stoic offers a different path: to pause, to look back calmly, and to turn each day into a teacher. This ritual is not about condemnation. The Stoic does not sit in self-loathing, beating himself for every misstep. He sits as an examiner, a friend, even a sculptor of his own soul. He asks, where did I act with courage today? Where did I fall short? Did I let something outside my control disturb my peace? Did I speak words I regret? Did I live by my values? Marcus Aurelius wrote nightly notes to himself that later became meditations. They weren't meant for the world. They were reminders to stay grounded, humble, and aligned. He could command armies and govern an empire, but in the evening he returned to the simplest questions. Did I act rightly? Did I live today as a philosopher should? Now imagine yourself adopting this practice. You sit for 10 quiet minutes. You breathe, set down your phone, and simply review. You recall the moment you lost patience in traffic, and you note it not to scold, but to learn. You remember the kindness you offered a stranger, and you note that too, not for pride, but for encouragement. You begin to see your patterns, your triggers, your victories, your flaws, and slowly, like a river wearing smooth a stone, you refine your character. Think of how this differs from worry. Worry replays mistakes endlessly, but without progress. Reflection replays with purpose. Worry gnaws at the past, demanding it change. Reflection accepts the past, asking only, what can I do better tomorrow? One drains you, the other strengthens you. Picture Seneca candlelight flickering, sitting with a wax tablet in hand. He traces the day carefully, moments of anger, of indulgence, of wisdom. And by naming them, he robs them of their hidden hold. The next day, when temptation returns, he is sharper, steadier, because he has rehearsed this very moment in thought the night before. Consider a modern example. A young woman overwhelmed by social anxiety ends each day thinking only, I embarrassed myself again. They must hate me. Her nights are filled with self-punishment, and her anxiety deepens. But if she were to sit with a notebook calmly reviewing, I felt anxious in that meeting. Why? Because I feared judgment. Next time I will focus only on doing my part, not their opinion. Then even her weakness becomes instruction. Over time, reflection reshapes her. The same storm, but a different sailor. Or imagine a soldier returning from a brutal campaign. His nights could be filled with torment, replaying every horror. But if he reflects in Stoic fashion, he names his fears, his anger, his regrets, and through naming them, he lessens their weight. He does not erase them, but he learns to walk forward without being chained to them. You too can transform your nights. Begin simply 5 minutes. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did I handle well today? What could I improve tomorrow? What lesson did this day carry? Write it down if you can for writing anchors. Thought. And if the day went badly, don't despair. As Seneca said, good now, you know where to improve. The worst day becomes the best teacher when faced with honesty. Over time, this nightly ritual becomes a mirror. You no longer wander blind into tomorrow, you carry the wisdom of yesterday as your guide. And slowly, the endless cycle of worry begins to break. Why? Because worry thrives on unprocessed thoughts. Reflection processes them, clears them, and lays them to rest. You sleep lighter, and you wake with purpose. The world will still demand, still overwhelm, still wound. But the person who closes each day in reflection is not swept away. They grow more grounded, more disciplined, more at peace. For when you know yourself, when you see your flaws and your strengths, clearly fear loses its shadow. So tonight, before you close your eyes, pause. Ask, how did I live today? Not to condemn, not to glorify, but to understand. In that simple act, you turn worry into wisdom, mistakes into stepping stones, and nights into healing. And when dawn comes, you rise not haunted, but strengthened. This is the 4th Stoic Habit Review, the day Rewire the Mind. And with each night you practice it, you become a little more unshakable, a little more free. You've learned to face the storms before they arrive, to pour your effort only into what is yours, to guard your mind from poison, and to close each night with honest reflection. Yet one more source of worry gnaws at you, your resistance to reality itself. How often have you clung to the belief that life should have unfolded differently, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away, the illness you didn't want. You replay them endlessly, wishing, demanding, bargaining that they be otherwise. And in this resistance, you suffer twice, once from the event itself, and again from your refusal to accept it. Here the Stoics give us their most radical practice, amor fati, the love of fate. Not merely tolerating what happens, but embracing it as part of your path. Nietzsche, deeply inspired by Stoicism, described his formula for greatness that one wants nothing to be different. Not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. To modern ears, it sounds impossible. How can you love what hurts? But the Stoics never asked you to love pain for its own sake. They asked you to love the truth that what is yours, and within it lies the seed of growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He faced betrayals, wars, plagues. He could have cursed the gods, but instead he asked, "How can this obstacle become my teacher?" A plague ravaged Rome, he learned patience, endurance, service. A friend betrayed him, he learned to guard his integrity. A war dragged on, he learned perseverance. In each hardship, he did not merely survive, he transformed. Think of your own trials. A breakup rips through your life. You feel abandoned, lessened. But in amor fati, you pause, breathe, and ask, what is this breakup teaching me? Perhaps it is returning me to myself, reminding me of strength I had forgotten. Or failure blindsides you, you poured years into a venture that collapses. You feel humiliated, but amor fati whispers, this is the soil of humility and persistence. This is how greatness is forged. Consider Seneca, who was exiled unjustly, stripped from Rome and sent to a barren island. He could have drowned in bitterness. Instead, he wrote, taught, and refined his philosophy. Exile did not end him, it deepened him. He embraced what fate gave, and in that embrace he discovered freedom. The practice of amor fati is not passive acceptance, it is active transformation. You are not saying, I enjoy this pain. You are saying, this pain is mine. It is part of my path. I will use it. The very moment you stop resisting reality, worry loses its grip, because worry feeds on the gap between what is and what you wish it to be. Close that gap, embrace what is, and the grip dissolves. But the Stoics did not stop there. They knew that life would bring involuntary hardship, loss, betrayal, death. To prepare for these, they practiced voluntary discomfort. They trained themselves to walk into difficulty on purpose, so that when it came uninvited, they would not collapse. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men, often set aside days to eat coarse bread, wear rough clothing, and sleep on the ground. He would ask himself, is this the condition I feared? And each time he discovered it was survivable. It was endurable. He was freer because of it. You can practice this today. Skip a meal and realize you still stand. Take a cold shower and feel your body strengthen against resistance. Say no to a small indulgence and discover your self-control grows. Wake earlier than comfort allows and face your hardest task first. Each time you choose discomfort willingly, you remind yourself, I am stronger than my fears. Think of a soldier in training marching under the sun, burdened with armor, weary, aching. The drill is not cruelty, it is preparation. When real battle comes, his body remembers, his spirit does not break. You too are a soldier of the soul. Every chosen hardship is training. Every act of voluntary difficulty is a shield against worry. And here lies the paradox: when you stop clinging to comfort, you stop fearing discomfort. When you stop demanding life be easy, you stop worrying about when it will be hard. This is true freedom, not a fragile peace that shatters at the first blow, but a resilient peace that grows stronger with every storm. So when the next hardship arrives unbidden, and it will say, amor fati, love it as yours, use it as fuel, and in between practice chosen challenges so that nothing can surprise you. For the storms will come, but if you have already walked in the rain by choice, you will not panic when the sky opens. Instead, you will smile, breathe, and whisper. This too is the way. You have faced imagined storms, focused on what is yours, guarded. Your gates reflected each night, and even embraced hardship as teacher. Yet one final truth remains: much of your worry comes not from events themselves, but from where your attention rests on outcomes you cannot guarantee or on futures that do not yet exist. To be free, the Stoics urge you to return to the present and to live not by results, but by virtue. Marcus Aurelius advised, confine yourself to the present. He did not mean you should forget the past or neglect the future, but that your mind should not be enslaved by them. The past is finished. You cannot rewrite it. The future has not arrived. You cannot command it. All you truly possess is now. And yet, how often do you abandon it? You replay mistakes. You imagine disasters. You measure yourself against outcomes not yet born. No wonder worry tightens its grip. Think of the last time you were lost in anxious thought. Perhaps you imagined losing your job, or being rejected, or failing in front of others. Did those fears belong to the present, or did they belong to shadows of the future? Meanwhile, the present moment, safe, alive, breathing, slipped by unnoticed. Worry hijacks time, dragging you into what is gone or what is unreal. The antidote is presence. Marcus reminded himself, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason that arm you today. In other words, when tomorrow comes, you will be ready then. You need not fight it 100 times in advance. Begin this practice simply. When your mind drifts into anxious what-ifs, ask, where am I right now? Feel the ground beneath your feet. Hear the sounds around you. Breathe deeply and return to this instant. Train yourself to notice small anchors, the warmth of your coffee, the weight of your steps, the words of the person before you. Each act of presence dissolves worry's power. But presence alone is not enough, for even in the present, anxiety can grow if your heart is fixed on uncertain outcomes. Will I succeed? Will they approve? Will this work out? The Stoics shift the focus from outcomes to virtue. Epictetus said, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. In practice, this means you measure yourself not by whether the world crowns you victorious, but by whether you acted with integrity, courage, and wisdom. Imagine a general leading his army. He cannot guarantee victory. The enemy may be stronger, fortune may turn. But he can guarantee this, that he leads with honor, that he fights bravely, that he holds discipline. If he measures success by outcome, he may despair, but if he measures success by virtue, he cannot fail. Or picture a modern example. You give a presentation at work. If your peace depends on the applause of others, you will worry endlessly. But if your peace depends on whether you prepared diligently, spoke honestly, and carried yourself with integrity, then even silence from the crowd cannot shake you. You have already succeeded. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Results may rise and fall, but virtue is always in your hands. Worry shrinks when you return to this truth. Outcomes are wind, virtue is anchor. Think also of Seneca, surrounded by wealth, power, and constant threat of political downfall. If his happiness depended on fortune's approval, he would have been consumed by dread. But by rooting his peace in virtue, he could lose everything external and remain whole. His wealth could vanish, His titles fade, his life itself be cut short, yet his integrity could not be taken. Apply this to yourself. Before action, ask, is this the right thing to do? Before speech, ask, is this true? After effort, ask, did I act with integrity? If the answer is yes, you have already won. No worry can rob you of that. When you combine presence with virtue, worry dissolves on two fronts. The future loses its fangs, for you no longer live in it. The outcomes lose their tyranny, for you no longer depend on them. You become untouchable, rooted in the only two things that are ever truly yours, this moment and your character. So let this be your mantra: right now is enough. Virtue is enough. Whisper it when anxiety stirs. Write it where your eyes can see. Breathe it into your bones. For in this moment you are alive, and that is power. And in living with virtue, you are victorious no matter what fate decrees. Now step back and see the path you've walked. You began burdened by restless nights and anxious thoughts, convinced that worry was a curse you could not escape. But slowly, through Stoic wisdom, you discovered otherwise. You learned to rehearse hardships before they strike, stripping fear of its sting. You learned to draw the line of control, reclaiming your power by focusing only on what is yours. You learned to guard the gates of your mind, protecting your inner garden from weeds of noise and poison. You learned to close each day with reflection, turning mistakes into teachers and victories into fuel. You learned to embrace fate itself, to welcome hardship as part of your journey, and even to train in discomfort so that nothing surprises you. And at last you learned to anchor yourself in the present, to measure your life not by outcomes beyond your reach, but by the steady compass of virtue. This is the Stoic way. It does not promise a life without storms. Storms will always come. It does not promise a future free from loss, betrayal, or pain. Those belong to every human story. But it does promise that you can walk through them differently. You can meet chaos with calm, hardship with resilience, and uncertainty with strength. Worry does not have to own you. Overthinking does not have to drain you. Fear does not have to be your master. Instead, you are invited to live as Marcus Aurelius lived, rooted, disciplined, unshaken. To live as Epictetus taught, free even in chains, because freedom is the mastery of self. To live as Seneca reminded, calm even in exile, because peace is not given by fortune but forged by the soul. So let the world spin. Let others panic, rage, or chase shadows. You will not be tossed with them. You have chosen another way, the way of calm, strength, of clarity, of dignity. Each time worry tries to creep in, return to these habits. Rehearse hardship. Focus on what is yours. Guard your mind. Reflect each night. Embrace fate. Live in the present. Choose virtue. And in doing so, you will discover the freedom that no storm can take. Tonight, whisper to yourself, I choose calm. I choose strength. I choose stoicism. Let that be the final thought before sleep. Let it guide your mornings, your struggles, your triumphs. And when the storms rise again, as they surely will, you will not fear them. For you are no longer the captive of worry. You are the master of your mind.